God bless you and welcome to another edition of Hebrew with Dr. Smith, sharing the good news. Today we want to look at Genesis 1 and 1, the beginning. In English, we know it as in the beginning, according to the Holy Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the Hebrew, it's a little different. It goes, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim vayet acharetz. So let's take a look at that, because this one opening prepositional phrase is actually very complex, and a lot of theology can be extracted from it. So we'll start by first saying that Hebrew is the language of the Bible, arguably one of the oldest books written, the Bible that is, the Torah. Also arguably the first language that was spoken, at least in Hebrew, in the writing of Moshe or Moses. He's writing in Ivrit, Hebrew, and he's illustrating what God has given him to say to the people. And so in this Hebraic writing, we find that there are two important things to understand about the Hebrew language. Hebrew is written from right to left. So this is Hebrew. You don't read it like this as you would English. You read it like this. So it's read backward. Now, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Aleph. The second letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Bet. First letter Aleph, second letter Bet. So Hebrew is written from right to left. So in Genesis 1, as I'll show you here, it's written from right to left. The Aleph is the first, and then it goes this way. Bet is second. This is the first word or phrase in Hebrew. It's Bereshit. So in Genesis 1 and 1, Bereshit means in the beginning. So the first question is from many rabbis, why when God told Moses to start writing in Hebrew, he told him to start with the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet and not the first? Many rabbis and scribes, teachers of old, struggle with the concept as to why God, Elohim, would start the first words of the Hebrew alphabet, the Bereshit, the beginning, Genesis. He does not start with the Aleph, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. He starts with the Bet, the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And so for us to think about this, we have to understand what is the difference between the Aleph and the Bet. So we've established the fact that the Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The next thing about the Aleph that is important is that it has a numeric value of the number 1. So in other words, in Hebrew, if you were writing number 1, you would put an Aleph. If you were writing the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, you'll put an Aleph. Now this Aleph is very important because it has a literal meaning, it has a figurative meaning, it has a symbolic meaning. But for the essence of this exercise, we have to establish the fact that God did not start with the number 1 word or letter, he started with the number 2 letter. And this is a question that many scribes have. Again, Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph has a numerical value of 1. It has a symbolic value, not interested in that right now. It has a figurative value, not interested in that right now for this exercise. But the third thing about the Aleph that is important is that it's silent. Okay, think about it. The first word that Moses records that God has Moses write down for our Bible or the Torah, the first word does not start with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, but it starts with the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Interesting. So the rabbis of old in particular, some scribes, because they're transcribing it, are wondering why would God, Elohim, write or have them put down the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet versus the first letter, especially when the first letter is silent. In contrast to the Aleph, the Bet is the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The Bet has a numeric value of the number 2. But the Bet has something else very unique, and that is the Bet has a dagesh. So again, Aleph, first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, numerical value 1, and it's silent and doesn't say anything. Bet, it's the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet, has a numeric value of the number 2, and it has a dagesh. The dagesh is that little dot in the middle. Now, what does the dagesh mean? The dagesh, which is found in certain letters of the Hebrew alphabet, means emphasis. It means to put emphasis on the B, the B sound, the Bet. The Aleph, first letter, silent, dagesh with the second letter, Bet, emphasis. So it's Aleph, silent. Then Bet, it has emphasis. So what does that mean in the Hebraic mind? It means, and most rabbis and scholars agree, that the reason why God did not start Moses to start writing the Torah or our Bibles with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is because the first letter is silent. It's unknowing. It's a question mark. It means that there is stuff about God that we don't understand. It means that God existed before God started creating. When God did create, the first letter is the Bet. It's the emphasis. So if you want to talk about the scientific relationship to theology, that's your Big Bang. It's the Bet that God starts talking to. Barashit bara. That's how when the beginning began. Barashit bara. He came out with the Bet. The emphasis is on the second letter because the first letter is silent, which means there was a lot going on before God started creating the Hashemayim va'acharetz. Before he started creating the heavens and the earth, God existed prior to him creating the Hashemayim and the va'acharetz, the heavens and earth. He existed prior to that. So when the beginning began, or when God began to create, he already existed prior to creating. There was already stuff going on before this story, this biblical account of the world and the universe as we know it begun. There was God. He existed before all of this. And so I like the fact that the first letter is silent. I mean, some may argue, why do you need a first letter if it doesn't say anything? The first letter is silent, but the second letter comes out with a bang. And so that's your Big Bang theory. God began to speak. Moses write these words, Barashit, Barashit. He comes out strong emphasis on creating, but there was a lot of God going on before he started creating everything. Just know that God is infinite. He's all-knowing, he's almighty, he's all-powerful. He existed before any of our problems. It was ex nihilo in the Greek. When God spoke to nothing and told the nothing to become something, took the something that came from nothing and put it nowhere and told it to stay there. It's that kind of God that was able to create. He existed prior to even him putting stuff into place. He's greater than any problem, greater than any circumstance. Ex nihilo is he spoke to nothing because he came from a place of silence. We don't know. We just know that he was the Aristotle's prime mover. He was the greater that created. So he is the creator. We are a part of his creation. He spoke to nothing, told the nothing to become something, took the something that came from nothing, put it nowhere and told it to stay there. And then we ended up with the, at first Ptolemy's geocentric universe to our heliocentric universe, and so on and so forth. What are you getting from this? That God is bigger than any problem, any circumstance, anything that you're going through. He begun even before everything begun. So that's kind of confidence. If you want to have confidence in a being, have confidence in some entity, God, who's greater than anything that we can imagine. This is a lesson on Hebrew 101. Dr. Smith sharing the good news. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Be sure to push the like button and subscribe.